2016 was the golden age of social media because back then it proved to be a powerful tool against mainstream media, ultimately revolutionizing countless industries, from how customer service is conducted by businesses to how people consume TV shows, movies, and music. Through Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, the first three massive platforms to become centerpieces in society, various personalities and independent social media companies organically grew massive audiences by utilizing the new technology, which allowed anyone to post and distribute their reports to millions for free, which had previously required enormous and expensive infrastructure to accomplish. It wasn't until after Donald Trump's 2016 election victory that mainstream media conglomerates fully realized the average individual in their kitchen on a laptop was now on an even playing field with them, and their information monopoly had slipped through their fingers. What was once seen as a technological novelty that people used to keep in touch with old friends also meant they could share local news stories that may end up being seen by so many others it becomes a national story by going viral. People also couldn't help but notice how mainstream media acted as gatekeepers and purposely ignored crime patterns and other issues that should have been widely covered. So the mainstream media struck back, co-opting big tech social media platforms, partnering with them, and they were soon transformed into extensions of mainstream media instead of alternatives. And the good old days were over. The brand name conglomerates weaseled their way back into a position of dominance over the flow of information. Donald Trump winning the 2016 presidential election shocked much of the country, if not the world. Hillary Clinton had been expected to win, and most of the media portrayed her victory as inevitable, as if it was her right to be the next president, which compounded Democrats' disappointment when she ultimately failed. Once the shock began to wear off, instead of coming to grips with the outcome, a vicious war was launched in hopes of destroying the Trump administration by any means necessary. Plans to impeach him were drawn up before he was even inaugurated. Then, throughout his administration, he and his associates were relentlessly attacked by operatives in the intelligence agencies, through frivolous lawsuits in the courts, Operation Mockingbird mouthpieces in the news media, and his supporters faced increasing censorship on social media. Trump would have been banned from Twitter shortly after the 2020 election, even if the January 6th protest hadn't gotten out of hand, because the media and the Democrats had manufactured an image of him as a dangerous monster, and numerous politicians, including Kamala Harris, who led the charge, had been demanding that he be banned from social media even before the election. But the provocateur and staged fake insurrection was the pretext they were looking for to finally purge him from all the big tech platforms and further crack down on his supporters. Republicans who doubted the outcome of the 2020 election or voiced concerns about the accuracy of mail-in ballots, signature verification, and electronic voting machines were now censored on social media, despite Democrats making the same allegations for 4 straight years prior. But now any talk of such thing was dangerous and undermines our democracy. Only in a communist country and other dictatorships are citizens not allowed to question the legitimacy of the ruling party, and that's what happened in America. For 8 years now, the Democrats have been engaging in what's called lawfare, which it means using the legal system to harass and persecute one's enemies. Donald Trump, his associates, and his supporters have all been swept up in crippling legal entanglements, while the justice system allows the Biden and Clinton crime families and Black Lives Matter and Antifa foot soldiers to operate above the law. Many January 6th defendants who weren't even accused of assaulting police or vandalism during the infamous protest at the Capitol that day were denied bail and held in jail for several years until their trials. Many of these same political prisoners were then sentenced to extremely harsh and unfair prison time for technically just trespassing if they happened to be members of the Proud Boys or became symbols of the protest, like Jacob Chansley, the shaman guy, and the other guy who was photographed with his feet resting on Nancy Pelosi's desk. They were all sentenced to years in prison. One of the first actions the Justice Department took once Joe Biden was sworn into office was indicting a Twitter user named Douglas Mackey for posting a meme 5 years earlier in 2016, joking that the Democrats could skip the lines on Election Day by texting in their vote instead. A common joke posted every election year from people from both political parties, along with the one about the friendly reminder that the opposing political party votes on Wednesday. Nobody is fooled by such posts because they're obvious jokes, and not a single person took the meme about Democrats being able to text in their vote for Hillary Clinton seriously. But Douglas Mackey, who went by Ricky Vaughn on Twitter, was still indicted for supposed election interference and found guilty by a New York jury and sentenced to 7 months in prison. Legal battles often take years and easily cost hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions to defend. Those found innocent or not liable in a civil case usually can't recoup any of those costs. They may win the case, but they're still destroyed financially. It's all part of the Democrats' plan. The head of Joseph Stalin's secret police force in the Soviet Union infamously said, "Show me the man and I'll show you the crime." And the power of prosecutors to abuse their authority is widely known even in Western democracies. Former Supreme Court Justice Robert Jackson admitted in some cases it is not a question of discovering the commission of a crime and then looking for the man who has committed it. It is a question of picking the man and then searching the law books or putting investigators to work to pin some offense on him. He went on to say that it's in this realm in which the prosecutor picks some person whom he dislikes or desires to embarrass, or selects some group of unpopular persons and then looks for an offense that the greatest danger of abusing prosecuting power lies. It is here that the law enforcement becomes personal, that the real crime becomes that of being unpopular with the predominant or governing group, being attached to the wrong political views, or being personally obnoxious to or in the way of the prosecutor himself. The U.S. Supreme Court has found that even though the law may be fair on its face and impartial in appearance, it can still be applied and administered by public authority with an evil eye and an unequal hand, allowing prosecutors to make unjust and illegal discriminations between people in similar circumstances, thus violating their civil rights by using the very mechanisms of government that are supposed to protect them. The FBI used disinformation to get the FISA warrant to spy on the Trump campaign in order to create the false narrative that he conspired with the Russians to steal the 2016 election. After his administration was bogged down for years, the Mueller investigation found no evidence of wrongdoing, and when Robert Mueller himself came out of hiding and finally testified about the investigation, he proved to be an embarrassing and bumbling old man who couldn't even convincingly articulate why it was launched in the first place. But the lawfare continued, with prosecutors ultimately indicting Trump for paying Stormy Daniels to sign an NDA to keep quiet about their alleged affair, claiming it was an unreported campaign expense. Then for keeping some documents at his Mar-a-Lago residence from his time in the White House, and soon after that for some other trumped-up charges, no pun intended, claiming that he orchestrated a criminal conspiracy trying to steal the 2020 election. All signs of a banana republic in a dysfunctional and collapsing society. But thankfully, at least half of Americans see through it all. And the Teflon Don had the Stormy Daniels conviction roll off him like water off a duck's back in terms of the effect that it had on people supporting him. The attacks against Trump by the Operation Mockingbird mouthpieces in the media and the leftist judges in Democrats' pocket are like the boy who cried wolf. Only mentally challenged people believe anything that they say anymore. Trump has some personality flaws, sure. Some hardcore pro-life activists are mad at him because he doesn't support a nationwide ban on abortions and wants the issue to be decided by the states. Some on the fringe don't like him because he's a big supporter of Israel, but if you're going to be a one-issue voter and your issue is that you only vote for a politician that doesn't treat Israel like the 51st state, then you don't really understand how politics and elections actually work. You have to weigh out the benefits of a candidate against what you disagree with them on, and then compare that to the opposition. And at this point, it's Donald Trump versus a diversity hire, social justice warrior, communist who will lead to the complete destruction of the United States and transform us into a third world country that will be unrecognizable from the one that we grew up in. The damage Comrade Kamala will do if she wins, as far as legalizing the 30+ million illegal aliens, giving tax dollars from hardworking middle-class Americans to those invaders, allowing other domestic criminals to roam our streets and mandate schools and businesses celebrate gender benders, will be irreversible. Everyone talks about undecided voters in the last few weeks and days before an election, but everybody has already made their mind up. It's about voter turnout. It's about supporting a candidate with your actions, not with your words. It's about supporting them with your vote. And that often entails planning your vote so you can actually get to the polls, or at least mail in your ballot or drop it off on time, preferably early, meaning now, so you can avoid any unforeseen distractions or obstacles that may hinder that ability. So plan your vote like you would plan your vacation. Schedule it, write it down, do it now. Plan for any unexpected delays or situations that may complicate things, and then get ready, because this is our last chance to prevent America from sinking down into a communist abyss. I'm Mark Dice. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new here, and if you're a regular subscriber, please share links to these videos on your social media accounts and encourage others to come and check out the channel and subscribe, because we're going to need to bypass YouTube's shadow banning and visibility filters manually. So thanks for all your support. Stay tuned, and I will see you soon.